Why do you love the hodl wave?
The hodl wave is the history of Bitcoin and its decentralization over time. So it's a very complicated chart. There's a lot going on. But what's amazing about it is you get to see exactly how people have been behaving with their Bitcoin on the base layer. So what we're looking at is the black line is the US dollar price.
Uh-huh.
All of those colored lines are different age bands of Bitcoin that have been living in Bitcoin addresses. So all Bitcoin live in addresses tracked by the blockchain, which is a database of all the transactions.
Do we know which ones are lost here?
We can speculate. The ones in the upper right-hand corner, the purple and blue ones, are very likely lost because those Bitcoin have been sitting at addresses for longer than 10 years. That's the purple band.
Right.
The blue band is 7 to 10 years. And so it's very likely that a majority of those are lost. And that kind of correlates with what people believe to be lost. So
about 4 million, right?
Yeah, something like that, 2 to 4 million. So yeah, what I really like about it is you can see people's behaviors during the pumps and the dumps. So during like the 2017, 2018 run up to 20K, you see some of those upper bands starting to contract, right? The light green band, which is the people who've been holding Bitcoin for 3 to 5 years. The lighter green is 2 to 3 years. The darker green is 3 to 5 years. You start to see those getting smaller and smaller. And that's when those longer term hodlers likely started selling their Bitcoin. When Bitcoin hit 20K, they're like, wow, this is crazy. I've been holding since $80. I'm going to, sell it for some other currency and to improve my life.
Buy a house.
Was that you buy a house,
buy a car, whatever.
Yeah, get a car, buy some chairs finally. What's really cool about right now, so all the way to the right side of the chart, is our run up to 69K. What we didn't see was the older age bands contracting as much. So if you look at the light green band and you look at the dark green band, they didn't really contract. They kind of stayed stable. And then now, over the last month or so, they're actually starting to grow, which means, in my opinion, that the people who bought when Bitcoin was $700 were pretty unimpressed by this run to 69K. They're like, I'm not selling my Bitcoin at 69K. This thing's going to a million or whatever. And so they didn't sell. So all of the pump to 69K and the dump now down to 20K looks to me like it's come out of the newer Bitcoin. So the lower half of the chart, the yellow, the orange, the red. And those are all the degens at Coinbase gambling on Bored Apes and selling their Bitcoin for Luna and then losing their shirts. So the long-term hodlers here have been, I would say, bored by this last run up and just.
No, I agree.
I've been bored by it. 69K.
Nah. Dude, we were promised like 100K, 200K, 300K.
I was promised a foundational reset of the entire global economy. That's why I'm here. The price in dollars is just kind of fun. It's something that I like to pay attention to just because I work in Bitcoin full time and definitely impacts our business. But for me, I'm here for the long haul, and my UTXOs are starting to get older and older and older, and they will continue to get older.
Do you know what else this looks like? Remember painting by numbers?
Yeah.
It looks like right. You're gonna paint like a rocky outback, and then you're gonna catch the forest in the background and the sky.
Yeah, it's the Bob Ross of Bitcoin, just happy little bands.
Yeah, I love it.
Happy little UTXO bands.
So what happens if, say I had like some Bitcoin in cold storage and I signed up to Unchained and set up a multi-sig?
Yeah.
Those coins move. But they're not sold.
You have to have coins. So what you do when you sign up for multi-sig is my team, the concierge team at Unchained, will send you hardware wallets. We'll walk you through setting up the hardware wallets. building the most secure type of Bitcoin address, which is the multi-sig address. And then once you have that, it's your choice. You can either buy Bitcoin from us into your address, or if you've purchased Bitcoin somewhere else, you can then move it to your address.
I didn't ask for a sales pitch, did I? This is a sales pitch. Come on, man.
You laid this one up for
Dude,
me.
no. I was saying, with this, I was saying if I move my coins,
Yeah.
then are they considered moved here?
Yeah. So if you
Yeah.
have if you have coins at Coinbase, this is what I was trying to get to. Is
Yeah.
like if you have coins at Coinbase and you're like, I need to improve my security, you would have to move your coins into a new address, which would reset the age of them. Right.
Yeah, so this isn't entirely accurate because it could be people just moving coins.
Well, it is entirely accurate for the movement of all the coins. Now, the rationale behind the movement, we don't know for certain exactly. So there's a lot of speculation, but I just think it's cool to see how, and you can start to see the waves of adoption over time. And what's interesting about right now is there's never been a time in Bitcoin's history where the Bitcoin has been sitting for a majority of the Bitcoin has been sitting for this long. So we're
really?
Yeah. So if you look at the yellow band, that's the 1 year age band. It's very thick and it's starting to take up a majority. Like everything above that has been sitting for many years.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the 1 year band, and you can just see it kind of getting lower and lower on the overall chart, and that's because now about 70% of all Bitcoin has just been sitting for, I think, either longer than 6 months or longer than a year.
Huh.
It's very fascinating. So all of the churn and the price speculation is happening with, in my opinion, exchange coins for the most part. It's like a smaller and smaller number of exchange coins are what's causing all of these price fluctuations.
So how much do you think we were affected by what happened with Terra Luna, 3 Arrows, Celsius? Do you think that destroyed a bull market that was going to continue?
I don't think so. I think those.
Do you think we were done?
I think those primarily were destroyed by the Federal Reserve raising rates.
Oh, okay.
Like I think at this point, all of crypto is low rate, 0% rate malinvestment. And as soon as people start charging to loan you money, that's when all these crazy malinvestments stop making sense. Okay. So anything, I mean, yes, the Luna stuff, the 3AC, broader crypto is really reliant on people having way too much cash on hand so that they can make crazy speculative investments. And that's one of the primary differences between crypto and Bitcoin is another currency that you can save in for the long term, which is what we're seeing here. A lot of people are saving in it for the long term, whereas 3AC, Terra Luna, those are all, short term speculative, in a lot of ways, Ponzi scheme, Celsius. What was interesting about, the Luna stuff is kind of interesting as well, because it's like, this was marketed as a stable coin, right? So there's a lot of people out there who are like, or maybe not Luna, whatever, the Terra, US, whatever. There's a lot of stable coins out there, and people are kind of interested in them because they're like, oh, it's helping introduce crypto to the broader world. It's helping to give, people without access to the dollar. And in theory, that might be true, but in practice, what we see is these stable coins are anything but stable, right? They're centralized entities that have lots of additional risks. So
you mean the algorithmic ones?
Both.
But even Tether?
I mean, they just keep hopping around to different jurisdictions trying to find a place that they can, issue their Tether. At some point, I think they're going to get clamped down on. There's like a systemic risk to Tether because it's centralized. So at some point, I think they're going to be shut down, and then there's your stablecoin is nothing. It's not stable.
Yeah, that's a shame, because Alex Gladstein spends a lot of time explaining how useful these digital dollars on a blockchain are.
And I get it. They are useful, but they are also very risky.
Yeah.
And I actually think, so a lot of people look at Bitcoin, they're like, it's very volatile, it's very risky. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is extremely low risk. You know pretty much exactly what you're getting. You're getting X percentage of 21 million. You can hold the keys to your Bitcoin, and you can run a node and verify, and nobody can inflate the supply. So I don't think it's very risky. Once you kind of understand what it is, how to use it, extremely low risk. Very high volatility, but I don't think volatility is necessarily risk. On the other side,
Well, that depends on your lifestyle, who you are, where you live. If you are living in a poor country and you have very limited money, that is a significant risk to your ability to feed your family.
it's not a risk though. It's like the volatility is maybe not palatable to you. Like you shouldn't go out and slam all your life savings into this really volatile asset if you can't handle the volatility.
No, of course.
But if you understand that there's volatility, then it's...
No, but it presents you a risk with being able to afford. Like the volatility presents a risk to your ability to afford what you need for your family. It's not that the asset itself is a risk, but the volatility introduces risk into your life.
I think that that's assuming that they need to have it right now.
Well, not most. I wouldn't know the numbers, but I would expect a large number of people, perhaps billions, live hand to mouth.
Yeah.
And they're the people we most want to get out of the situation they're in, because they're either living in jurisdictions with high inflation, authoritarian regimes, restrictions on what they can do and how they can trade. So they're probably some of the people who need it most.
Definitely.
But their ability to start using it and accepting it and having it in their life, there is a risk. If you're living hand to mouth.
And if you're living in like Turkey, you got 80% inflation and your options are like Bitcoin, whatever the currency in Turkey is, the lira, is it?
Yeah.
Or a US dollar stable coin, like the choice is pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, in those...
What is it? Depends. What's the obvious choice to you?
If you're living hand to mouth...
So...
It's the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make the most sense for somebody who is experiencing like hyperinflation right now. But again, like that's a cohort of people who have been completely screwed by central banking. Like the absolute destruction of civilization in their society is because of central banking destroying the value of their life savings. So like, while Bitcoin can help these people over the long term, the damage has already kind of been done to them. And so they need an immediate solution, right? They need something. They can't find a solution that's going to help them over 10 years. They need to find food today and tomorrow for their family. And so you have to look at something else. But interestingly enough, like the US dollar right now is experiencing seriously high inflation, right? So even the dollar is becoming a riskier and riskier thing to hold because it's 8% inflation. That's the official term, right? In reality, it's double digits.
It depends where you are. I mean, the dollar has dropped from 138 to the pound, so it's 112, I think, today, and it got as low as 105 to the pound. I saw that. So it's a better asset. It was a better asset to hold than the pound, the king's pound.
I guess as well, it depends how quickly you turn around your money. If you turn around your money really quickly, Bitcoin volatility doesn't really matter.
Well, so when I was with Crypto Bastardo in Venezuela, he holds Bitcoin, and all he does is every week transfers the amount he needs in Bolivar out. And he would explain to me, like, he says, even when the price of Bitcoin is dropping, I'm going up in terms of the Bolivar because inflation is so high. So there are scenarios to work through it.
Sure. But I think from a high level perspective, like the whole global economy, think of it as the Titanic, right? It's starting to break apart, and there's parts that have already broken off and are sinking. And then there's a few people kind of left, and there's this life raft called Bitcoin, and you're in like a stormy, choppy sea, and Bitcoin's very volatile and it's bouncing all over the place. For the people who are still on the ship, like that might be a good option, or you should start exploring the life raft. For the people who are already sinking, like, I don't know, you have to figure out your hand to mouth at that point. Like you're scrambling. It's a different situation. So that's, while I really want Bitcoin and I think Bitcoin will deliver property rights and value to all 8 billion people in the world, but it's not going to solve all of their problems today.
No, of course
and what
not.
we can do is the people who still have resources, who are still able to save in it, should start saving in it, because that's when you can actually protect your purchasing power and avoid sinking.